Welcome back to Pint Podcast, and today we have been joined by Mark O'Brien. I said it was going to be a special one, so let's get straight into it. Thank you very much anyway, Mark, for coming on to the podcast.
No problem.
If it's all right, we'll get straight on with it. So, touching on your youth career, you started out at Cherry Orchard, is that right?
Yeah, I started at Cherry Orchard when I was 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And I was with them for about 10 years.
Luke's just been having a look and he's noticed some great footballers coming out of there. Connor Salmon, weren't it, Luke?
I mean, he wasn't top pick on the ones I was listing to you. Andy Reid, I think, was one of them, and Enda Stevens, who's obviously having a cracking time.
Absolutely.
In Prem Sheffield United, hasn't he? So it's obviously a bit of a hotbed.
Yeah, I've known Enda Stevens my whole life. He played for the same team my brother was in, and my brother flew away at the same time Enda did. So I've known Enda my whole life.
Did you ever think he'd go on to be a Premiership left back?
At the time, he was probably one of the last ones out of that Cherry Orchard team to get an opportunity to fly away. And obviously, he had to go through it more, go League of Ireland, and then from get spotted in League of Ireland. Whereas normally in Ireland, from the age of 15, 16, you get up and fly away. So he kind of stayed strong with it, and then got an opportunity to fly away, and he's been brilliant. He exactly how he always played back in Ireland. He was just unfortunate that he didn't get a chance to get picked up at a young age.
Yeah. How did your journey begin then, Mark? So playing over in Ireland and then getting scouted by Derby, how did that all come about, and then sort of managing to get into the Derby Academy?
When I was playing back in Ireland and all that, it's a competitive league, the Dublin League and stuff like that. It's not as you'd call it, academy football over here. It is real competitive, and you start getting picked for Dublin squads. So when you get 12, 13, you get picked for a Dublin squad, which best players in Dublin will go into a tournament against all the other counties. And then after that, you have the opportunity under 14s, 15s, you get chosen for your very first Irish squad. So I start getting called up into that. And I had a couple of trials before I went to Derby. I went to Blackburn, Man City and Liverpool. And I was so close to signing for Blackburn. I was there about 4 or 5 times. And then Derby came in, and me first ever trial with Derby, they were playing in the under 14s. They were playing Everton away on the Saturday. So I had to fly over to Liverpool Saturday morning at around 7 o'clock. Met up with the team at around 10 o'clock, and then I had to play a game by 11. And that was my first time meeting anybody or seeing anybody around Derby and stuff. And we beat Everton 3-2. I scored the winner, and then I had to fly home that night. So it was probably the best way a trial could ever have went for me. So then Derby said they were interested in having me over for a week's training. So once I went over there, and I got a feel for the place, I loved every minute of it. Everyone was so welcoming, and it felt like a home from home where you could easily settle in. And like I say, that probably swayed me more to wanting to sign for Derby, for the whole factor of when it feels like a home from home, you miss out the middleman of that homesickness where you just go over there and enjoy everything. And everyone made me so welcome that, like I said, it was one of the probably best decisions I made from such a young age.
Yeah, personally for me, it was the best thing you did, because when you were coming through Derby Academy, absolute loving it. Absolute classic, Mike. But when you did sign for Derby, you was named the Academy Player of the Year. Was it the same year that you was named the Irish Academy Player of the Year as well, the under-16s?
Yeah, I was named the Academy Player of the Year, and then I was named Ireland under-16s Player of the Year that same year. So it was kind of a really good year for me. And obviously, I was lucky enough that when I did fly over, once I got registered when I turned 16, I made my debut at the end of that year. So it was kind of a whirlwind of a year, to go over for my first professional club to then play for the first team at the end of that season. It was crazy.
Was that beyond your sort of expectations then, Mark? I mean, you come in as a kid and you do have them lofty ambitions, don't you? Because you're 16 and you know what I mean. You just
I did at the time. I was thinking to myself, once I went over there, obviously you just want to play and train, and like your whole goal is to play for the first team. But like you see that there's like so many first year, second year scholars. I was still only a schoolboy when I first went over, so like it was one of them things that I knew Derby like really wanted me, and I knew they thought highly of me. But at the time, I was like training with the under 18s, but at the time I was only able to play with the under 16s until I could register at 16. So once November came, and then I was able to play a couple of more youth team games, and then somebody dropped out of reserve side, and then I got fast tracked into the reserves, and then done okay in the reserves. And it was just one of them things that like everything just went from better to better to better all in the space of a year, where obviously it's a dream for something like that to happen, but I probably never expected it. Yeah. Because I like, you see that first team that they had at the time, there was Albrechtson, there was Lewin Nyatanga, there's Robbie Savages, there's all people like that, and you're thinking to yourself, you've seen these lads play in the Premier League, you've seen these lads have like a massive career, and then to find myself training with them for a full week leading up to that last day of the season, like it just felt so surreal. But I knew like I made I knew I made like the right decision once like all that was happening. And I knew Derby like was like great to me.
Yeah. What was that like then for the more experienced players? Were they sort of decent, welcoming, or I've heard mixed things on Savage from other professionals in some autobiographies and stuff I've read. I just wonder what that's like for a young lad coming into a team with a massive personality that he is.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Like, in all fairness, he was probably like the one that kind of, if you can say, like toughened you up as a 16-year-old, because it's like when I was in the youth team, and like when he wasn't in favour with Paul Jewell at whatever time, he would train with the youth side every so often. And like he'd come down, train with us, and he was kind of like a massive personality. You'd hear him before you see him. And it's one of these things that as like time was going on, like he took a real liking to me, because the very first session he had with the youth team, and I remember him speaking about it, his very first session with the youth team, like he went to get on the ball, and as he turned out with it, I smashed him in a tackle. And I remember I went over, I was like, sorry, picked him up and everything. And then that's when he turned around, and I remember him saying it before, that's when he took a liking to me, to see it as I wasn't afraid to like tackle, or I wasn't afraid to put myself about. And obviously you have your ups and downs with him. Like he was like a big kid at times in and around the changing rooms. Like if he needed a cup of tea, like I was always the one, like he bypassed everyone just to ask me to make him a cup of tea, and he would just do loads of stuff like that. But then obviously me as a youth team player, and you have a first team player like taking such an interest in you, you would do anything. Like if he asked me to clean his boots, you'd clean them. If he asked you to make a cup of tea, you'd make it. And it was it's that old school way of saying, right, earn your keep kind of way, and earn the respect.
Yeah.
And then I had the opportunity to go down and train with them for the week leading up to the Watford game away. And when I went down and trained with them, like they were all great with me, but that again matured me so much quicker, because you had to start having a voice for yourself and speaking up for yourself. And I had to carry what I was doing in the youth side, and the player that I was, that I always loved being a voice and organising. So I couldn't kind of let it, like I couldn't like not tell someone to drop back or push on or do things to what I had to kind of bring down my own game. So that's what one thing they said they were really impressed with, that like I was very vocal, but once I come off the pitch, they wouldn't have heard a word out of me, because I never knew what to say or how to speak to them. But once you're on the pitch and you're in that different environment, it kind of football takes over, and you just kind of get involved with everyone. And every last player were like real welcoming, and they were actually like saying how well I was doing, which gave me that confidence to think like I'm doing okay here. And then obviously going into the last day of the season, like it was going down on that bus. It was probably the quietest bus, or the quietest I've ever been, going down on a bus. And it was just one of them experiences that like you remember parts of it, but it all happened so quickly. Like it's something that I remember, like the bits of when I got a chance to come on, or like I remember just after half time they were 3-0 down, and as I'm sitting on the bench, the player next to me, Mark Dudley, he was on the bench for the first time, and he looked over and he got on his shoulder and said to me, you're going on after 60 minutes. So I thought he was trying to wind me up, and I kind of said, nah, no way. So I looked up at the board, and there was like 57, 58 minutes gone. And Andy Garner turned around and goes, OB, get warm. and like get warm. Like at 16, I didn't know what I was doing. I just jogged up and down the sideline, trying to keep like the nerves in, trying to like stop myself from getting sick and everything. I didn't know what to think. And then just before I went on, like Nigel Clough turned to me and just said, kick it and head it and be a defender. And they were 3-0 down, so there wasn't really pressure going on. It was more of just go out and see how he does. And I remember like everything went like so well. And as I said, from the time of Robbie Savage making him cup of teas, whatever I did well in the game, he was the first player to come over and pat me on the back and say, well done, OB, like great header, great tackle. And that gave you that little like stick your chest out moment to think like I'm loving this. Cleared one off the line and everything just went like amazing for me. So like it was an experience that like I do remember like loads of it, but I'd love to be able to watch it back to see how bad it probably was, but I was just in the height of it thinking it was great.
It's good to hear about like someone like Savage, because you just obviously from our perspective we've never met him, we're unlikely to, and you just get this kind of media-led idea of what the guy's like, but that's the real Robbie Savage there, who's obviously seen a young lad nervous coming on for his first game, and someone who's had necking in bruised but last year.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. He was brilliant, and that's the thing that like a lot of people obviously, as you see through the media, you see whatever, you might think different stories, but as a person himself, for young players coming through, if he took a liking to you, or if he's seen you had the right attitude and he's seen that you had some talent, he was the first person to put his arm around your shoulder. He was the first person to slag you off if he had to. He's the first person to tell you well done. But also, because you're in a men's environment and like you have to, this is what I was meaning by growing up, I have to grow up so quick, was the fact of if I wasn't training how he wanted me to train, as in the right intensity, or if I made the wrong pass or I didn't take the right touch, he was the first one to let me know as well. And that was him as a captain. He always had standards as well. So even though I was a young player, I was getting treated as a senior pro, even though I'm still only 16, 17, which is what matured me and made me grow up so much quicker. And like you say, like there's players like that in and around you, and then you get like all the other players that were in and around the team, and you have like Rob Hultz's, and you had like Paul Connolly, Steve Davis, Chris Commons, all these different players. And at the time, you see them as teammates, but also you see them as like, these are like first team players. Like I was still in that kind of awe phase, but at the same time, I had to kind of get my head around it very quickly. And luckily, I got given the opportunities to do that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
No, that's brilliant. So you do have quite a special story as well, Mark. So in 2009, you did undergo that heart surgery to correct a valve problem. How was that for you when you was just breaking that first team as well?
Well, that was the thing. That was the beginning of like what football can be, like the roller coasters, where the first, like the year previous or the summer previous to that, like I make a first team debut, I'm in front of 20,000 people, like you're on top of the world, everybody's patting you on the back, everybody wants to know your name, and you're kind of like hitting the ground running. So the following season, you're thinking, right, get back into pre-season and I could make some more appearances and I'll still be 16, 17 and I'll still be learning, but I could make more appearances here. And I knew it was something I wanted to do. So then knowing that I needed to have the heart operation knocked me for six, because I had doctors and surgeons tell me I may not be able to play professional football ever again. So at that time, like my only question, and I've said it loads of times, that I was probably lucky to be like naive enough to believe once the doctor said, well, maybe you have a chance of playing, but don't get too carried away, you probably won't have a chance of playing. But once I heard that I had a chance, I was naive enough to try and believe it and just push for it as much as I could. And I think once I kind of had that glimmer of being able to play, and previously, like if I didn't play in front of a first team or I didn't play in front of the stadium, I don't know what my decision might have been, because obviously I had the taste of first team football so soon. So I knew what I wanted. Whereas if I was still in the U team, still with the 16s and 18s, you don't know if you wanted to be able to progress that or not. And that's why I say sometimes I was lucky enough. But then once the doctors gave me that, I'd say 20%, 10% chance of you might be able to, they said to me, like, your valve might only last you a year. They said it'd last you a maximum of 5 years. So I just thought, right, I'm going to have a 5-year career of give it my best and play each year to the best I can and see where it takes me. And I got 10, 11 years out of it. And like I said, I've got a career to look back on and be proud of. So I've had a lot of people say, do I regret like not being able to finish out my career? Like, I had a longer career than anyone ever gave me, so I can never like look back and regret.
No, I think that's a really positive way to look at it as well, Mark. I was reading an interview I think that you'd done with the Guardian, and that stuck out to me. You'd been given 5 years, and that's sort of what you've stuck onto. You exceeded your 5 years, so you look back fondly on the time you did have, rather than something you can't change. You can't get these years now by, you know what I mean? So I think it's a really positive way that you're looking at it.
But that's the only way that I've been kind of like, I was kind of in a way, once I had that forced running session back, and once I had the forced training session back, and I was lucky enough to have like such a great physio and like such a great fitness coach, who Steve Haynes, he's still there, and Neil Sullivan, who was the physio at the time. Like, I was so lucky to have people like that, because once I started, because it's all new to them as much as it was to me. Like, they're used to rehabbing knees, ankles. Like, nobody knew how to rehab a heart. So we just had to kind of, to an extent, trial and error. If I jog and I feel okay, I'll try it again and see if I feel any better. And I'll just keep trying it. And when I was progressing, I remember I went back for me, I think it was my 6-month checkup. And the doctor asked me, how do you feel? Like, walk on this treadmill, see how you feel. And I was exceeding all their expectations. They were like, oh, like, you're well ahead of schedule. And I was like, well, I said, I can jog on this treadmill if you want me to. I said, I don't need to walk anymore. And then they were kind of surprised how things were going. And as I said, I had the operation in the October of that year. And I got back playing by April time for the youth team. My first game was like Man U away. On MUTV in the youth side, so it kind of gave me mum and dad back home a chance to watch me on MUTV to kind of see how is he going to be, what's he going to be like, is he going to be the same Mark that we've known him like through his whole life. And like I say, once I got back into a game situation, it was like a flick, like it's like a switch flicks in your head, and you're back into throwing yourself in front of things and making tackles, winning headers, and that was the kind of boost that I needed to get that. And I made the first team bench by the end of that season. So even though it was a down season, it was still a successful season to say, right, I'm back, I've made it back, now let's try and progress it and get further on. And like I said, there's like no regrets to anything, and to be able to look back on a 10-year career, whether I had ups and downs or medical problems or not, I look back at it and say it's a 10-year career to what loads of people would dream of and loads of people would want with the experiences that I've had. So I can't like look back and think, oh well, what another 5 years would have given me, because I didn't know I was going to get 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you did exactly that as well in 2011, 2012, and 2012, 2013 season. You featured a lot more regular as well, didn't you? And to play under Nigel Clough, what was that like?
I loved every minute of it. He was the reason probably why I've had a career, in all fairness, because I see it as, like, I know loads of people have like mixed opinions on him and what he's like to certain individuals, but for me personally, like, he was probably the reason why I had a career, because he stuck by me through like the difficult times with the heart operation. And I got offered a new 3.5-year deal before the heart operation, so it gave me the opportunity to get back fit. Whereas if I was in a different club or under a different manager, they might want to wipe their hands with it, because sometimes I've learned as time's gone on, you're only just another number in football, really, where you're out, the next one's in, or the next youth team player coming through. And he stuck by me through it all. And when I was home in Dublin, he would phone me to make sure I was doing me walking. And as I said, he kind of made me the player I was. Like, he made like the attributes that I had, but he made the basics, and he made me like learn them well. It wasn't like he was trying to change me or do anything different. He let me be the player I was, but he just kind of helped me perfect it in a way where he says, right, I want me defenders to defend, I want me midfielders to create, and I want me strikers to score. And kind of dumbed it down so easily, where he wanted me to throw myself in front of the ball. He wanted me to stick my head in, but that's something that I always loved doing as a defender. And anyway, I always loved being that old-fashioned defender. So it kind of went hand in hand, where he likes his defenders to be that way, and that's the defender I was. So he encouraged that, and then he tried to like tweak it as I went along into a force team, knowing I had to develop my game slightly where, right, I have to step out a little bit more on the ball. I have to take a touch, and like I can't just head it aimlessly anywhere. I have to try and start picking people out with a header and not just header it for as far as I want to head it and stuff. So he was someone that was brilliant to me on and off the field. And like I say, for him sticking by me through obviously certain injuries I had at the time, the heart stuff, and even after this heart operation, like I had a phone call off him to see how I was and how everything's going, and if I need help or anything after football, like just give him a call. And if I'm ever up around Derby, like don't hesitate to like say hello and stuff. So like I say, like it was, you don't need, like I said, he didn't have to try and call me after this heart operation, because I haven't been under his management in the last 6-7 years. So it still goes to show the person that he is. And if like the way that I've always kind of dealt with it is that if you do well by him and he knows you're giving 100%, and you don't kind of get carried away with yourself, and you don't like create an attitude or a chip on your shoulder, he's as loyal as can be as a manager, and you don't see that sometimes as much nowadays.
Yeah, and that's why I love doing this, where we're talking to pros and ex-pros, because you do see behind that curtain. You get to hear stories like that, like again, like Luke said about Robbie Savage and Nigel Clough. There's the media will paint them in a different way sometimes. So it is really nice to,
and you just see that's what the real Nigel Clough is as well, like we've said, because I mean that's not something that's been done for an article. It's not publicised. That's a background thing that would make him look great. You know, I won't name names. There'll be some footballers who do things purely for the publicity, you know, knowing there'll be a camera there to pick it up happening. That's just the reality of what he is like as a man, that he's done that purely out of, you know, feeling for you and what you were under him. And I think that's great to hear that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And like I say, it doesn't just go to show that, like, obviously, if he phoned me after the first heart operation because I was a Derby player, like I only had a phone call off him a few months ago to see how I was doing with this one, and it's the same as, you know, the kind of players that he always trusted in, because anywhere that he went, whether it was Sheffield United or whether it was Burton Albion, Jake Buxton was always in and around them. John Brayford, Sean Barkers, all people like that he knew he could trust, that were really like nice, genuine, strong people and great characters. He knows what he's going to get out of them. And like you say, like I hope that like I've seen myself in that kind of bracket along with that, because like I say, he's someone that still stayed in touch through so much, even till this day now, and he still like has his time to say, like, if I ever need a hand in anything, or if I ever need help in anything, he's going to be there, and all I have to do is just call. Don't hesitate to call and ask. And like you say, it all depends on how you are by him, because don't get me wrong, like I've had the old hairdryer treatments plenty of times off him as well, where just because he might like you as a player, when I was 16, 17, he used to turn around and I'd get like slated left, right and centre from him. And I used to sometimes think, because I was still only young, I used to think, oh, he hates me. But then I had the likes of Sean Barker and Buxton who were able to pull me to one side and say, he doesn't hate you. The reason he's actually being on you so much and being so aggressive with you is because he knows the potential and he knows the player you are, so he wants the best for you. And then once you get told that from a different pro, you kind of accept it and go, oh, well, that's good. Because then they said to me, if he wasn't having a go with you and he was just letting you do what you wanted and you were making a fool of yourself, then that's when you need to worry, because it means he's not interested or doesn't have a slight interest in you whatsoever. So I kind of took it in all a good way. But like I said, some of the words that he's come out and said to me in the past are very very fruitful.
I can't picture it. He looks like such a mild-mannered guy, doesn't he? Just short.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it. He just looks like quite an amiable chap who probably plays like chess on a weekend or something.
Yeah, he loves his baseball, loves his cricket and stuff like that. And like you say, like he loves all that side of things. But I've had he does have the managerial side where things aren't going so well. He'll let you know about it, and sometimes when I've been on the receiving end of it, you just want to like shrink as small as you can get, because some of the words he come out and say. But then I've always said it. It's like sometimes you need that, where it's made me the player that I was in my career, because it gave, like, because I had to mature so quickly, grow up so quickly, and from a young age he's trusted me to play me at the age of 17, 18, 16 even.
Yeah.
And to still trust in a 16, 17-year-old to have that on his shoulders to say, no, I want you to lead the team. And I remember when I was only 17 or 18, I was captain in a reserve game for the first team against Porton Albion, and I used to always think, and if I was out injured and I'd come back from the injury, he used to always be like, oh, it's great to have you back, right, you're starting this week and you're doing this. And he just made me feel as though, do you know what, like he wants you to succeed and he wants me to do well. And like I say, like there's a lot I owe to him and Derby as a club for sticking by me for so long.
Yeah. So from Derby, you did have a loan spell up at Motherwell. What was that like, having a loan spell out in Scotland?
It was interesting. Like, I did actually enjoy it, like, but I didn't know what to expect, because obviously Steve McLaren was the manager at the time, and we were away in Austria on a pre-season tour, and I got a call off Stuart McCall to see if I wanted to go out on loan. So after I got off the phone with Stuart McCall, we got back into Derby, and I remember I went into Steve McLaren's office and I was just asking him, like, what does he think about going to Scotland? Like, what's his views on it? And if I do well up there, or do I need to go out and get games so I can be in your plans or anything like that? And at the time, the conversation that we had, I wasn't expecting, because he kind of said to me, he turned around and basically said to me, he was just like, you've been at Derby 5-6 years now, and he said it's been like a roller coaster, where he said now it's kind of, he said, just flattening off, and he said it's just plateauing. And I was like, right. And he was like, so I think if you go to Scotland, he said, it's all new experiences. He said it creates a new career bubble for you, and he said you can go out and gain new experiences. And I kind of sat there thinking, like, what are you kind of getting at? And he said, because he said, with the players I've got in, he said, I'm looking to probably get a couple of more in, and he said, we're moving in a different direction, and I just think you need to go out and get different experiences and maybe move on from here. So at the time, I obviously didn't take it too well. I was just kind of thinking to myself, that's not the talk I kind of came in for, to sit, like, to kind of hear that I'm getting released, really.
Yeah.
But now I look back at it and say, I appreciate his honesty for what he actually said to me, because I've experienced that on the complete opposite side, where a manager tells you what you want to hear and does the complete opposite. So once I went to Scotland, I loved every minute of it. Like, they were a great group of lads. Like, I got welcomed in so well. I got on with everybody who was there, and it was just unfortunate that halfway through a season, Stuart McCall stepped down and Ian Barraclough came in, and it's a new manager, new ideas, and I wasn't his kind of player. But so me and him kind of had like a few discussions back and forward when he first came in, and he wanted to bring up 10 new loan signings, and he wanted to change the whole team, the whole everything. So, like, there was a lot of people that weren't too happy. And he brought up a centre-back. It was younger than me at the time, a couple of years younger. But, like, obviously, he was a lot taller, because I was never the tallest centre-back. And everybody used to say that to me, like, you're not the tallest. So they never understood how I could, like, win so many headers or whatever. So he used to say to me, I'm going to come in. He goes, he has a bigger presence than you. And I kind of looked at him and thought, well, what does that mean? And he said to me, well, I just think he has more of a presence. And I said, okay. I said, have I been beaten in the air? No. I goes, have I been beaten, like, for pace? No. I said, do I not win me tackles? And he goes, yeah, no, you said you win your fair share. He said, you win your headers because you're aggressive. And I said, so why am I being dropped? And he goes, oh, just because I think he has a bit more presence and physical about him. So I just kind of said, right, well, obviously if the shoe doesn't fit, then I'm not doing anything wrong. But at the same time, I'm doing everything wrong just because I can't grow. So I used to just look at it and say, well, it is what it is. And then I kind of got a handful of games under Ian Barraclough, and at the end of that season, I didn't get signed. Like, I knew I was getting released by Derby, but I didn't get signed by Motherwell. because he said he wanted a squad of 18 men that could train on like on AstroTurf and grass at the same time, because when it snows up there, it's bad. And I obviously, with previous injuries that I had on my knee, I couldn't train on AstroTurf, so that was his excuse for not signing me, which I just thought, you might as well just tell me out straight, do you think I'm shit or something? Don't just tell me that it's because I can't train on AstroTurf, because I'm sure you'd make an exception for someone you want. But I kind of just kept it to myself, and I just thought, it is what it is. And I was lucky enough that I went back to Dublin in the summer, and I got a call off the Luton manager, and I flew over to Portugal with Luton.
Yeah, I'm going to say you're very much the modern day centre back anyway. You got pace, ball playing, and tackle hard. I mean, now you'd probably be playing in Premier League with Arsenal or something.
Honestly, I think if I was born about 30 years like previous to everything that went on, and I was in the earlier years, I would have loved to play in the Premier League, because you were actually allowed to tackle them. I wouldn't get away with half of the stuff that would have went on. I was lucky I dropped the league too.
It's just such a weird comment though, like when Ian Barraclough, you say, when he's talking about presence and presumably just thinking his centre-backs have to be 6'3" to be able to fulfil the position. And someone should just Google image search Fabio Cannavaro for him or something like that and say,
well, that's something that my dad always said to me. My dad always said the same to me. My dad always said, like, you don't have to be the tallest to be centre-back, and he used to always use Cannavaro as an example, because he used to always say, well, he's only 5'10" and he got World Player of the Year. So he said height doesn't matter. He said it's all about knowing your position, and it's all about like your positioning or winning your tackles, winning your headers and stuff. And like it's something that never bothered me for height. And if anything, it kind of spurred me on to where if teams were playing longer balls and they were kind of always putting it on me, like I used to love a game like that, because I'd love winning headers and I'd used to love like making tackles. And as you say, like I loved every minute in Scotland, and even for a chance to play at Celtic Park, it was like I think it was my third or fourth game up there, and like I always used to say I'd love to go like watch Celtic play in a European night. The atmosphere looks amazing. So my first time ever in Celtic Park was playing there, which was like crazy to me, but I loved every minute of it.
Yeah. What was the standard difference like, Mark, for you going from the Championship? Did you notice a step down? I've always perceived it to be below Championship standards.
Yeah, it's a bit of both, really. That's the thing. Like, I know a lot of people down talk like Scottish football because all you ever see is Celtic and Rangers if it's live on Sky Sports. So you don't really get to see much else. I think the only way that I was able to describe it, it's like 3-4 leagues mixed into one. It's like League Two, League One, Championship, high-end Championship, all in one league.
Yeah. And
maybe you might get Celtic or Rangers that could be in the Premier League, but maybe not. But I always seen it as it's all them leagues mixed into one. So you are going to get like your 1 or 2 League Two sides that are going to scrap it out. And like you say, you have Championship sides that could be like the Aberdeens and Hearts and Hibernias and people like that could be in League One as well. So there is a real good mixture of a standard up there. So like I've always said to loads of people, if you do go up there, I said it's not something where you think you're going to go up there and have an easy time because you've played in England. Yeah. And that's something that I noticed straight away. So it is a bit strange though, because you go from 1 week playing at Ross County away and you have 1,500 fans there, and then the following week you have Celtic and there's 55,000. So like that's the contrast up there between the two sides. So it's crazy, but it is actually really enjoyable, and it's a good enough standard that if you were to have a career in Scotland, you'd be doing really well for yourself as well.
Yeah. You look at Joey Barton. He left Burnley. I think he said himself, "I'm going to Rangers to win titles," and he came back with his tail between his legs back to Burnley because he went up there with the attitude of it'll be a cakewalk. I'm Joey Barton.
Yeah,
and got absolutely pounded every week. All Scottish lads were like, "Fucking kick shit out of you every week." You know, he admitted that.
That's exactly how it is. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what it is. A lot of people look at it, and a lot of people think, right, you only really have to deal with the likes of Celtic and Rangers. Everyone else is going to be like, you'll easily walk all over them. And the one thing that I learned is that like there's so much good talent up there that a lot of people probably stay up there because it's a comfort zone for them. A lot of people stay up there because they're earning a good living up there. So it's not the be all and end all for every Scottish player wants to go play in England. Like it's a good enough standard to hold their own and make a good career up there.
Yeah, so fast forwarding your career a little bit past Luton and Southport, you went to join Newport County. And what was your most memorable game for Newport County? Because I know you made 103 games for them.
There's been a couple of memorable ones, but I think obviously the goal I scored for like the Great Escape is obviously going to be like the main attribute of everything, because that was the reason why, or that was like the platform of how we were able to progress over the next 2-3 years after that. And I never understood that, because 6 months previous to that, I was training with Luton's under 18s because the manager didn't want me. So I went from Luton under 18s because the manager tried to get rid of me to then having an opportunity at Newport, and then 6 months later playing the same league as Luton and score a winner in that. And I remember when I met up with Graham Westley at the time, and a lot of people, like, you hear loads of stories about Graham Westley, like he's a bit eccentric.
I want to ask you about him.
Yeah, like you can ask a few things after I tell you this. Like I met with him in a hotel just outside of London, because he was on his way back up from Newport. And before I went there, Alan Sheehan, who was at Luton at the time, an Irish lad, I was staying with him because I didn't have anywhere else to stay because I was looking to move out. So I was lucky enough that I was able to stay with him. So once I told him I was meeting Graham Westley for a meeting, he said to me, whatever he says to you, make yourself seem like the best player on the on the planet. He said, if he says to you, do you want to be the best player in League Two? You say, if you say yeah, he'll see that as a negative. Say you want to be the best player in the Premier League. He said, say you want to be the best player in the world. Because if you say I want to be the best in League Two, he'll turn around and say, but why not League One? Like, you'll always have an answer. So I kind of took that on board, and I thought, okay, I'll see what this is like. So we met in a hotel, and we were sitting there, and he basically just sat there with me. He was just like, oh, do you want a coffee, whatever? And I was like, yeah. So we sat there, and he kind of, you could see he was kind of looking me up and down when he shook my hand. They kind of probably think this fella is not a centre back. So I just sat there, and he was just, and he basically just said to me, so what kind of player are you? And that was like the very first question he asked. So I was just like, oh, like, I'm a committed player. I love winning headers. I love like defending, and that's like my main job, and that's what I love doing and everything. And he was like, okay. He said, well, a bit of background on me. He said, I see myself as a bit of a Alex Ferguson, Jose Mourinho type of manager. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he was telling me all about what was happening at Newport, saying that he was bringing in 12 new players, and they're not doing so well, and they're in the relegation going, and everything's going terrible, and he wants to bring in 12 new lads. And I was just thinking, like, this, if it gives me a chance to play, yeah, I'll come play. So we sat there talking for a while, and normally you go back to Luton and say, oh, Newport are looking to sign me, like, I'll see out the rest of my contract, or all these different contract talks for like mutual consent and stuff like that to kind of see out the contract. And he never gave me that time. He sat in front of me and said, okay, so do you want to come in training Thursday? And this was like on the Tuesday. He goes, you want to come in training Thursday? And I said, yeah. He goes, all right. He said, we'll phone your chairman here and we'll sort it here and now. And I was thinking, oh no. So we phoned the chairman. He didn't answer. So I thought, oh, right, he didn't answer. That gives me a bit of time to be able to go back and speak to Luton and see where I'm at. And then he goes, no, I'll try it again. So we tried it again, and I'm sitting there. So he's on the phone trying to discuss my end of contract with the last 6 months that I've got. He's trying to sit there, discuss that. And as he's discussing that, I'm sitting there, and he puts me on the phone, and they seem to, and that's when Luton knew they could like offer me anything, and they knew I'd have to leave, because the way he put it to me was, he goes, you can come back here and not play for 6 months, or he said, you've got a team sitting right in front of you now that you can go train on Thursday and start playing Saturday. So I just thought, all right, I'll accept. So once there and then I went back and packed all my bags, and I was down in Newport by the Thursday and started that Saturday. And like I say, it was just like a roller coaster with things. And by the end of that season, I ended up playing 20 odd games at the end of that season, going from no games to 20 games, and then scored my first ever professional goal, and not realising the significance of the goal when it went in.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget it. Like, it was only after when I signed my new 2-year contract with them that I was able to, I had like all like the youth team staff, I had like, they do community stuff, I had all them people come over to me, and they if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have a job. And I was just more happy that it was my first ever professional goal. And the fact that I was able to get, because the deal that me and Graham Westley kind of agreed on was if we end up staying up, so I took a gamble as well. And it was the kind of, he liked the mentality of putting a challenge up to you.
Yeah.
So his challenge to me was, he goes, would you be able to help us stay out of relegation? And I said, yeah, definitely. And he was like, all right. Then he said, here's a challenge for you. He said, if we end up staying up, he said, you'll get your off season like payment as you always do.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll fulfill your contract, and like we'll be able to offer you another one. And he said, if we don't stay up, he said, you don't get paid and we won't have a contract. And I just shook his hand there and then and said, all right. And like I say, when that goal went in, like I was thinking, it's my first goal. I'm hopefully going to get a contract and I'm getting paid. That was the only thing that went through my head. Like, but then getting to know Newport and getting to see what it meant to the fans, to everybody in and around the club, it was so much more to it. And that's why it was probably something that will always stick out for me.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing.
Go on, Luke. You say you've got some questions on. Look at him smiling already.
It's just when I was looking at the managers you'd played under, when I saw Graham Wesley's name mentioned, I had to ask this because I'm a Burnley fan. One of our closest rivals is Preston, and he were at Preston. He didn't have a good time there. And there were this story, and I've just quickly got the text up because I thought I need to read this out to get the reaction.
Was it fighting?
You are sorry?
Was it fighting?
It's just a ridiculous text that he sent the night before a match. So I wanted to ask you, first of all, did you ever have any weird texts off Graham Westley?
Yeah.
I'll read this out. This is the night before a game, right? A manager's first week at a club is difficult for everybody. There is loads of apprehension, uncertainty and change. I promise honesty, and I will always do my best to give that. Certainly, I will open my door for a chat about anything on your mind, if I have something you need to know. I'll be constructive with you all. My job is to get you all playing to your best level ever, and you will. This week, your work has been on, and he just lists lots of different, ball, personality, character. Hopefully things that have been done or said to you or others have helped you learn. Hopefully you are starting to feel how I work. Today there are 2 debutants and 2 more lads who weren't on the field last Saturday in the starting 11. My sides are renowned for being strong, organised, physical and athletic. They always will be. Also, although nobody ever talks about it, my sides play intelligent, thought-provoking football, dominating possession and crushing opponents with sheer malice. We win games mentally, technically, tactically, physically, and bodily. My aim is to my next medal. You can call me Mr. Medals. My aim is my next win. My commitment is every ounce of sweat, blood, and brain. I'm sure you are with me. If you are not, get out. I am truly looking forward to working with you all. Let's get going. Let's win medals. Sorry this has been sent so late. That was at 3:00 in the morning.
And you think that's strange? That sounds exactly like him. Like, the thing is, right, like, don't get me wrong, he was someone who gave me the opportunity when I was down and out, and I'll always be grateful for that.
Yeah.
But it's an experience that messages like that are every week. You'd get messages about how your performance was individually. Like, he would send you out a message saying, okay, lads, so what do we think was the weak link in the team today? And you have to text them back, or else we'll have a meeting the next day and he'll say to you to your face, well, why didn't you message me back? You didn't text back, why? So you have to always message back. And he used to do group texts of motivational stuff, and you'd get a long list, exactly like messages like that about we want to be 6 games unbeaten. If we were in the changing room, he had his own music playlist in a game. And the songs that we were going through, he had a story for every song. So we were playing Doncaster on a Friday night, and they were top of the league. So he had his own playlist on, and they were just songs there was Daddy Cool, there was Who Let the Dogs Out, there was Blue, Best in Me, there was Eye of the Tiger, and there was another song. So like obviously these songs are just playing from his phone, and he dances in the changing room and everything. So as he finishes up, he goes into his team talk, and his team talk was, right lads, now I know you probably weren't paying attention, but see the songs that we're playing, there's a meaning to every song. So he goes through each song individually, like I the Tiger, and I the Tiger, because we're going out to battle and we're going to like go 12 rounds with these out there, and we're going to go the full length, like the top of the league, whatever. And then he goes, Daddy Cool. And Daddy Cool is me walking through, where was it? Me walking through Selfridges with me 2 children while the Sky Sports cameras follow me. And that song's playing in the background after I keep Newport to safety. Best in Me was the blue song. It's a slow song, but he said, Best in Me, he said, I want you to bring out the best in me because I'm trying to bring out the best in you. Like, we're all in this together and all that. And then Who Let the Dogs Out? Who Let the Dogs Out was because he said, a dog is a beast. And he said, a beast. And he said, you take the A out of that and it says it's the best. So he said, I want you to be the best beast. So we're kind of thinking, okay. And then he goes, right, lads, we're going to go out. So then as we're getting the knock on the door by the referee, Doncaster already lined up outside the changing room. And he, our speaker was next to the door. So he turns up Who Let the Dogs Out as loud as he can, opens up the door and like starts like barking at us as we're going out and starts singing the song. So like we're kind of walking out heads down thinking, oh no, here we go. Like these are probably looking at us thinking, what are you playing at? But like like I said, like he's someone that he has like he's very into his motivation, and he's very into his like frame of mind, and he's very into like positive thinking and positive things will happen, what motivates you and stuff like that. And that's his kind of route, and his training is very, very, very physical and very difficult. Like sometimes like he will get you very fit, but then he gets you very fit to the brink of where you're thinking you're going to burn out every single week. Because he used to always say, if you run 10 kilometers in training, 10 kilometers in a game, like it'll be easy. And I used to be thinking, like, by the time I get to a game, I won't be able to run at all, let alone 10 kilometers. So it was interesting, but like I say, he was someone that actually gave me that opportunity, and I was lucky enough that everything kind of worked out.
Certainly sounds a character, does old Mr. Medals, for sure. Mr. Medals, I love that.
But I don't know which one I can say.
No, brilliant. So the last question I've got before, if it's all right, we'll go into like a little Pro 5 quiz. Is so earlier on in the year, you have retired from professional football. Can you just tell us a little bit about what's obviously come about your decision and why you've made it?
It was the same as when I was 16. I had the decision whether I wanted a tissue valve or valve from my second heart. And a mechanical valve, like, obviously means that I need to go on blood thinners, which means obviously you can't play contact or physical sport. So I had to make the decision when I was 16. But I always said when I was 16, whenever I have to have my next operation, I said I'm getting a mechanical valve in, and I'm going to call it a day, because the first operation was to try and fulfill a football career, and the next one is just basically so I can try and have a life then, and not have to try and worry about year after year when's going to be my next one and stuff. So that's where that all came about, and I just thought having the mechanical valve in was always going to be the next step, and it's something that had to happen, and it was something that I don't really like think about as a bad decision. It was more of, I knew from 16, I've had 10, 11 years to think about it. Like, it was something that I knew was always going to come, and the fact, I think I knew the operation was going to be difficult, and I just probably underestimated how much I was probably going to miss football, even as much as I don't regret anything, and I don't wish I still had another 5 years to do a lot more. I just think football was something where I always said maybe after football I mightn't want to stay in it, and I mightn't want to do coaching or stay in and around football because I've had it for my whole life. And then now that it got taken away, it's kind of been a godsend to me to have that. And like I've struggled, I'd say, probably more mentally with this operation than I ever have, because not only am I dealing with trying to recover from the heart stuff again. I was dealing with retirement, not knowing what my next step was, not knowing anything. And now that the club have like obviously been brilliant with me, and they've helped me like just try so many different experiences that I never thought I'd enjoy. Just like if I went into the analysis room and I'd sit and go through some games, and I'd sit there and watch games of football and give my take on what I see, and then also do the home commentary on match days, and all just little events like that. And they're looking to do different things media wise. They want me to try and do stuff like that. So like I still am unsure whether if I want to go into coaching and stuff, but it's something that like I had ruled out probably while I was playing, and now that I'm not playing and it's been one of them decisions that had to be made, it's something where I look at now and I say I'd probably love to go into coaching. I need to stay around football to kind of keep me mentally switched on, because without it for a while I was in hospital, and once I came out of hospital, it was something that was missing. Like I was missing the structure and I was missing the routines of waking up, going into training, and going out for a game on a Saturday. And now I've got kind of the equivalent to that, to still go into training each day and go commentate on a Saturday. It's kind of a routine, but not just obviously going out to play. So it's been difficult to get my head around, but also I've loved like all the new experiences as well.
That's great.
No, you've had an absolute incredible career anyway, and absolute class player. So I think you can look back on everything that you've done and feel, in a way, quite privileged to have been sort of where you are, 'cause your ability on the pitch speaks for itself. So,
yeah, thank you.
Josh, I'll let you go into your profile quiz.
With every guest, we just do a quick 5 questions about your career. It's called the Tommy Lee Profile Quiz. I don't know if you know Tommy, former Chesterfield goalkeeper. He was the first to get 5 out of 5 on the quiz, so he earned the naming rights. So, yeah, we'll go straight. So it's nothing too serious, but so number 1, you scored 3 league goals in your career, all of them for Newport County. Who were they against? You touched on your first earlier. I'm sure you know who that one were against.
First one was Notts County.
Yeah.
Then the second one was Swindon and Oldham.
Yeah, I think that other way around. Oldham was your second one, but I mean you've got it right. Oldham in 28.
That's what it is, yeah.
And then in 1920. So, yeah, one point. Number 2, you made most of your career appearances for Newport County. Which Newport teammate did you share the pitch with on the most occasions? I've got 3 options, and yeah, I mean, so the first one is Mickey Dimitriou. Second one is Padraig Amond, and I apologise.
If he watches this, just say Demetrio.
Demetrio, there you go. I was reading these names, I was like, and then C is Joe Day. I can say that. So it's Mickey, Padraig, or Joe. And they're very, very close. One is 96, one is 94, and one is 93.
That's a tough one. Like I spent a lot of time on the pitch with Mickey.
Are you going Mickey?
I'm going to say probably Mickey. I think it's Joe Day.
It's Mickey, 96. Joe Day was 93. Padraig Amond, 94. So, yeah, 2 out of 2. Number 3, you received 4 red cards in your career. Who were they against?
4 red cards.
Again, one will stick out.
I'm going to say one was Luton.
Yeah.
One was Lincoln.
Yeah, Lincoln one was on 23rd of December. Did you just fancy Christmas off, or?
See, that's when I was getting more experienced in football. I knew exactly what I needed to do. Tranmere.
Yeah, playoff final. And one more, and this was for Motherwell.
Oh, Dundee.
No, it was Hamilton. Hamilton Academy.
Oh, it was in the cup.
Yeah, it was. Scottish League Cup, yeah.
I think it was named there.
So,
as you mean to go on.
when I've asked that question to most guests, and we've never had a single guest say that they got a deserved red card. So were any of your 4 deserved, or was it terrible refereeing?
The Lincoln one I would have said was deserved. I try and cover up that it wasn't. The 2 yellow cards against Luton probably was deserved. The playoff final wasn't deserved, and Hamilton, if you watch that back, you'll get to actually see it on YouTube. That definitely wasn't deserved.
Well, we'll believe you because you've admitted to 2 of them. It's when they come on and they've had 7 red cards and you're like, no, I never touched him.
Better pray every time.
Right, okay, question 4. Which team were your favourite opponents? And by that, I mean, who did you win the most games against? And again, it's a choice of 3. It's Mansfield Town, Cambridge United, or Morecambe.
Cambridge United. Easy.
Yeah, correct. 5 wins out of 6. So you must have looked forward to coming up against them.
Oh, we loved it. Literally, if we had them like in every competition, we knew it was nearly a cleared-on win.
Yeah. It's a great record. And finally, question 5 on the Tommy Lee Pro 5 quiz. You've played under 10 managers in your career. Can you name 5 of them? And there is a couple who you sort of played under but never made an appearance. So we don't allow them, unfortunately.
So I'm going to say Nigel Clough.
Yeah.
John Steele.
2.
Stuart McCall.
3.
Brian Westley. Michael Flynn. Ian Barrett-Clough. Nathan Jones. Steve McLaren.
You've gone 8. You needed 5, so we'll give you a point. Who was your favourite? We've obviously heard all about.
I was just trying to see if I actually knew them all.
Yeah. Who was your favourite manager to work under? This isn't a quiz question.
No right or wrong.
No, I think like my favorite one. I like there's different reasons for different ones, but I think Nigel Clough would be my favourite for obviously for how he stood by me and like kind of created me into the person I was and gave me the chance of a career. But then also Steve McLaren. I loved his training sessions, and he in a way developed my other side of the game and like the understanding of if you're going to play out from the back and do stuff like that. Defensively, like he was brilliant to train under and see a different kind of regime to what I was used to. Even to the Newport manager now, him and Wayne Hatswell, his assistant, like they stuck by me through a lot down here, and so yeah, I'd say they were my top 3. I'd go Nigel Clough, McLaren, and Michael Flynn in top 3 in that order.
Brilliant.
So last thing, Mark, if it's all right, before we leave, we like to get guest score predictions for our 3 teams who we support. So I support Derby, Josh sports Man United, and Luke sports Burnley. So the weekend's fixtures, could I get your score prediction for Derby versus Wycombe?
I'm going to say 2-1 Derby.
You think they're going to turn it around, the terrible run of form at the moment?
Yeah, I think like there's been it's been like rough at the moment and stuff like that, and there's like so much indecision. But I think like they've got too much quality in the team not to turn around. And obviously with McLaren back, I think they'll turn it around.
Yeah. Well, I certainly hope so. Anyway. So next game is Man City versus Burnley.
Fucking hell.
Oh, I'm going to say Man City 4-0.
Can't argue with that. I can't. Nick Pope's injured as well.
Is he?
Yeah, so we've got Bailey Peacock Farrell making his debut at the Etihad.
You signed him from Leeds, didn't you?
Yeah.
About 2 seasons ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But so the last one I've got for you is Southampton versus Man United.
Oh, I'm going to say a 2-2 draw.
2-2
Even
draw.
though I'm a Man U fan myself.
I think I'm going for a draw in that one as well. They're on a good run, aren't they, Southampton? Yeah.
So 2-2. And I've asked this question on quite a few of them who's been a Man United fan, but would you be sticking with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or would you sack him?
So blunt.
I'm so blunt at that, but it's honest.
I think it's difficult because when it's a team like Man United, you're expecting miracles to happen here and now, but so many teams that go through transitions of managers constantly, and they're looking like, because you can't turn around and say Mourinho's not a good manager and Van Gaal. I think it's more to do with the players than it is the actual management. So I think if he's able to get his results and get a bit more structure to him, stick with him, because you do have to stick with managers a bit more. But I think he's on a tightrope now where I think he will end up getting the sack sooner rather than later, because at Man United, you can't really see teams like that waiting around. They want to here and now, especially with the likes of Liverpool's and Cities and Arsenal's all kind of making that headway that they are falling behind.
Yeah, completely agree with that. But thank you very much, Mark, as well, for coming on. Massively appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been great, mate. Thank you so much.
No, I enjoyed it.
All the best for your future in coaching as well. Yeah. All right, mate.
Cheers. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
Cheers,
so
Mark.
much, mate. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Cheers.
Bye.
What a top lad Mark O'Brien is, and a very bad internet connection. But nevertheless, he was a sound bloke. So, right, let's get into our score predictions. And last week, Derby versus Wycombe. Josh, you had 1-0 Derby.
Yeah, I had faith in Rooney. I don't know why.
No, I don't.
I didn't think there'd be many goals, and there wasn't. But yeah, you really are in trouble. This will go out when you've played Coventry, so we obviously don't know what's happening there yet. But I guess you're going to lose again, and maybe Rooney won't be in charge next week. I don't know. Yeah, you need to start winning, otherwise you're going down.
I had exactly the same. Derby to win. It weren't. We just can't. We can't score goals. Watched the game. Absolutely played fine. Played absolutely fine. Getting balls in box. Colin Kazim-Richards. I know he's one from the past, but he played very well.
He played.
Yeah, he started him and he played very well. I'm not joking. Probably Derby fans out there might say the same, might not, might think I'm a prick, but we played very well and we just don't score. I don't know what it is. I do believe we had the chance to be probably 3-0 up before half time, but we weren't, and we drew 1-1. Matt Bloomfield scored an all right sloppy goal. So credit to Wycombe, they battled on and they got a draw. So
It
can't
is
argue with it.
Because with Rooney and Colin Kazim-Richards, I mean, in 2009, you'd have been really good.
Wait, Colin Kazim-Richards was playing for Derby.
Yeah. Oh God, it's not great. But anyway, Luke, you had a 1-0 Wycombe.
Yeah.
Is it because we had Colin Kazim-Richards?
I'd have gone for 5-0. How old is he?
Anywhere between 32 and 34. Might be 90, might have a Zimmer frame, I'm not sure.
I thought you'd lose, and a draw's probably an all right result in the circumstances.
We need to be picking up points, but right, we'll move on quickly to Man City versus Burnley. Luke, you had 4-0 Man City, and you weren't far off.
No, I thought we might do better than we have for the last 5 years, but we did the same. We've lost 5 consecutive games at the Etihad 5-0.
I mean,
so,
you've broken the.
Credit to Dyche, he tried something different, which usually he just literally puts the same formation out away at Etihad and thinks, "Oh, this will be the year it does it." Pep or Mancini or whoever can't handle it. But he actually did. He went 3 up front away at Man City. With 2 central midfielders, one of which was an 18-year-old making his debut, who actually played, not 18, like 20. Who were all right, to be fair. And we had Nick Pope injured for 1 game with concussion from the Palace game. So Bailey Peacock Farrell played, and I don't mean to be harsh, but he did have a mare. He weren't at fault for any of the actual 5 goals, but he gave away 2 own goals, which were both ruled out by VAR, and they were terrible. He punched the ball into his own net on one, and on the other, he made a really good save, but then kind of like he saved it and then threw it back into his own goal.
Yeah, I've seen that.
He didn't have a good game, bless him, but yeah, there were never any chance of anything for us there for whatever reason. It just doesn't work what Dyche does against Guardiola.
Well, we all got 2 points from that one. Josh, you had 2-0 and I had... Oh, no, Josh, you had 3-0 and I had 2-0. And then on to our last game was Southampton versus Man United. Josh, you had 2-1.
Yeah, I thought there'd be a lot of goals. Both teams quite poor defensively. United started well, then they scored and we were terrible. Southampton could have had 3 or 4 in that 20 minutes before half time. But second half, we absolutely battered him. Cavani looked every bit the striker that he's looked before, and every bit the thing that we're missing. Martial ain't really a striker. So he needs a good run of games now. Yeah.
Luke, you went opposite and had Southampton to win 1-0.
Yeah, I thought they would. They've been playing really well, but credit to United at the end of the day.
I think when you see them go 2-0 up, I think you're thinking it's pretty much nearly sealed, isn't it? But Man United did very well to fight back and get 3 points there. But Josh, me and you got 2 points from that one as well. So we had 4 points for the week. And Luke, you had 2, which in total takes me to 44, Josh to 14, and Luke to 24.
I'm on the charge.
You're on the charge, nearly taking Luke on. So now this week's fixtures to predict will be Millwall versus Derby. Josh, I'll start with you.
Millwall have been pretty poor. I was looking just before we came on, but not as bad as you.
No one's been as bad as us, mate.
No. 2-0 Millwall.
Luke?
We're just checking out Millwall's recent form now. Lots of draws.
Yeah, 3 points out of the last 5.
5 draws in a row, Millwall.
Where are they in league? About 15th?
I'm not sure. 5
maybe a bit higher.
In a row. I don't know why I'm looking. It's at Millwall, isn't it? So I can't see anything but a Millwall win. I can't. 1-0. 2. 2.
I think we're going to win against Coventry into the future, and then we're going to beat Millwall 1-0. That's what I'm going to say. And it's going to be Rooney still as manager into the future. But right, Burnley versus Everton, Luke. They're not doing great now. Very, very good.
I still have faith in us against any team that isn't the top 6 with our first choice team out, especially at Turf Moor. Especially after getting twatted by Man City. I'm going to say 1-0, Burnley.
Josh?
Yeah, Everton have been crap since they drew with Liverpool. They had a really good start, drew with Liverpool, ended Van Dijk's season, and they've been shit ever since. And Burnley looked quite good.
Not against Man City.
No, but they were bouncing back as well, weren't they? I think you Villa forgot that already. I'll go Burnley. Did you say 1-0, Luke? I'll say 2-0.
And I'm going to say 1-1 in that game on the fence. West Ham versus Man United. Josh?
West Ham have started well, but United are going to win league. Ollie's at the wheel, and Cavani's best player in the world.
Family affair, isn't it?
Hey?
Family affair.
It is, yeah. So we'll not be speaking, whatever happens.
Right, Luke?
1-3 to United.
I'm going to say 1-0 West Ham. I'm going to go completely opposite on every single fixture this week. So I'm getting 0 points. Josh will be at top. Right, that's the end of this week's Pint Podcast. Make sure you are joining us next week for Ollie Banks. See you then.
Bye-bye.
Pie and a pint. Pie and a pint. Pie and a pint. Pie and